Welcome back to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Aiken. We are broadcasting from the Hesselson studio. Well, good morning and welcome to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Aiken. We are broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Marcus Street in Corning, and I'm so glad you joined us. We have a very special treat in store for you this morning. We are going to be talking with the first group of students from San Giovanni Valderno, Italy. They will be joining us in the 7 o'clock hour. That is Corning's sister city. And we did a little different this year. We're having the first group on today, and this is early on in their trip. They arrived, I want to say late Thursday, and had their welcoming party at the school on Friday. And then we're going to have the second group in on Friday to see how things maybe have changed, their opinions have changed, or what they liked the most. Just kind of staggering it, making it a little different, and I kind of like that idea. So I'm excited to have our first group of students from San Giovanni Valderno, Italy, on in the 7 o'clock hour. Also, I believe I promoted this yesterday, but if not, my apologies, because I want you to be prepared and set your alarm. On tomorrow's broadcast, Assemblyman Phil Palmisano. No, it's not Fridays with Phil. Last week was so busy, and I took those days off. I asked Phil if he wouldn't mind if we could do Wednesday. Instead, we're going to ask him all about the energy tour. He was at the Dwayne Eddy unveiling. We'll talk to him about that. There's a lot going on. So get your questions in for Assemblyman Phil Palmisano, who will be joining us on Wednesday. We've got what a lineup. A full lineup all week. Thursday, we're going to hear from Apple Ridge. They have a health fair coming up. And then on Friday, the second group from San Giovanni Valderno and Pam Walker, who's running for mayor of Corning. So as you can tell, we have a busy week in store. Coming back from a couple days vacation, I wanted to make it up to you by hitting the ground running. Let's start with some viewer comments after yesterday's broadcast, and then into Jimmy Kimmel. Well, let me start here. Some breaking stories, then Jimmy Kimmel, then Charlie Kirk's memorial, and some more information coming out on, just the kind of vile nature of some people and their mindset in regards to the assassination of Charlie Kirk. We've got some updates on the Democrat Party if we have a chance to get to it, because Kamala Harris is on her book tour. And also we have, not a lot, but a few New York State updates. So let's get right to it. Viewer comment. First off, it's our tip of the week. This viewer sends in a tip of the week. And much like Karen's quote, comes when it's best for them. And we try to read it when we have the opportunity for the tip of the week. And I think this is a perfect way to start today's broadcast. We all end up with small scratches in the finishes of our furniture from time to time. However, before you go spending hundreds of dollars to get your furniture refinished, try using some toothpaste to get those marks out. Using a peanut-sized amount of non-gel paste, rub the scratch in a circular motion until it buffs out, and then clean the remainder with a damp towel. I've also used toothpaste to buff out a new paint job on the gas tank of a motorcycle. Works surprisingly well and much cheaper than purchasing rubbing compounds. Well, there you go. There's your tip of the week. See how helpful we are here on Frankly Speaking. Thank you to that viewer. Okay, comment from a different viewer. This is from Gerald. Gerald writes, Democrat Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, AOC of course, declares Charlie Kirk uneducated. I guess because he didn't go to college. He went out into the world, listened, discussed, questioned, and read voraciously. He was educated by life and his own will for knowledge. AOC is educated, highly schooled, indoctrinated by pompous professors. Taught she is smart, not educated to be intelligent. Transformed into smart Alex by the system, thinking they have all the answers and need to listen to no one. Debate is beneath her, afraid her socialist communist ideas will not stand up. That was, and I wish I could quote who originally said it, but that was one thing I always thought was a very good statement of the education system today, where students are coming to college specifically not to learn, but to teach, because of their kind of pompous, to use that viewer's word, and know-it-all mindset. But to tie in with the story of the day with that opinion by that viewer, it's not just AOC. Mama Donnie, I don't know if you saw this. We'll talk about it a little bit more in depth when we talk about Jimmy Kimmel. But Mama Donnie hasn't been doing very well when it comes to off-the-cuff speaking. Some have compared him to Kamala Harris, who also, by the way, and we'll get to this, Kamala Harris kind of endorsed him yesterday. Now, some would say maybe that's the death knell anyway if she endorses him. But it wasn't even a full-throated endorsement. It was, do you endorse Zohran Mamdani for mayor? And she goes, sure. But I'm getting on a tangent here to kick off the broadcast. The reason I bring up Mamdani in that segment is because he's not doing very well when it comes to these roundtable discussions or sit-down interviews. So instead of going to a candidates forum that was going to be hosted on a local ABC, he canceled. We know the real reason he canceled, because he's not that good at it. But he canceled in his mind because of the Jimmy Kimmel situation. That if ABC pulled Jimmy Kimmel, they don't get Zohran Mamdani. When, in fact, we know he just knows that the more he's out in the public, and much like a Biden scenario, much like a Harris scenario, the more he's out in the public, the less liked he becomes. But that gave away way too many of my stories just for one little anecdote. Comment from a different viewer. This is no surprise, but I disagree with viewer Rick. And Rick yesterday had said something to an extent, I'm paraphrasing, but he thought that Trump made kind of the Charlie Kirk memorial about himself and made a fool of himself. Well, this viewer says, I believe President Trump was detailing how Charlie impacted his campaign and election in the end. He may get wordy, but that's his way, and was not intentionally trying to steal the moment to make it about him. I didn't see it that way at all. He loves this country. He loves that Charlie loved this country and family, and just good values. Thank you very much. Comment from a different viewer. Mark writes in, good morning, Frank. Well, good morning, Mark. Trump warns women not to take Tylenol, and doctors say it's bogus. And Jimmy Kimmel is back on TV tonight. Also, we are finally getting some much-needed rain today. Mark giving us all the breaking headlines. Yes, the rain, especially early this morning, has settled down a little bit. But it was coming out pretty good this morning. So thank you, Mark. We're going to talk about each of those. I also had a viewer bring this to my attention. I'm glad they did because I had not seen it anywhere else. It was actually kind of difficult to find outside of the local news where it happened. But 6 of the 15 defendants were arraigned in connection with the July 4th shooting of ICE officers. 6 women charged in connection with the shooting at the ICE Prairieland Detention Center on July 4th made their first appearance before a federal judge yesterday. They face charges ranging from attempted murder of federal agents to hindering the prosecution of terrorism. James Barker Murphy, a friend of the defendants, or some of the defendants, and I'm pretty sure the only reason that I wasn't there that night was because I was moving. Okay? Barker Murphy says the group planned a protest that night, not an ambush. Quote, they were there to show solidarity with the people who were being kidnapped off the streets by ICE, and they're being called terrorists. This is an interesting piece. This is from NBC's affiliate out of Fort Worth. Interesting you. So far, I've only interviewed a supporter of the 6 women that were charged in connection with shooting at ICE agents. According to the criminal complaint, 4 of the defendants dressed in black, military-style clothing, some wearing body armor, and began shooting fireworks at the facility. When an Alvarado police officer responded to the scene, another defendant in the group allegedly shot the officer in the neck from the nearby woods, while another alleged shooter across the street fired 20 to 30 rounds at unarmed correctional officers who had stopped outside the facility. A 20-year veteran of the U.S. Attorney's Office, Leah Simonton, said you do have some factors that already indicate that this was a premeditated attack. The number of people who were involved, the fact that they had to buy fireworks and bring fireworks in advance, and the fact that they were all in coordinating clothing. Simonton calls the case unprecedented and says federal prosecutors are expected to present evidence that could prove the defendants planned to kill the federal officers. Quote, they would be looking at text messages, any form of communications to really understand how these people were talking about the attack. I don't think anybody should get shot in the neck. I mean, that's pretty common, like human compassion. The attempted murder of a federal officer carries a sentence of 10 years to life in prison. 8 of the men charged in the case are expected to appear before a federal judge today. So thank you for bringing that to our attention. I think that is something that was kind of glanced over. There's again, we talk about the Trump news cycle. A lot of things that could have filled a full show in the past almost becomes a footnote because there's just so much to cover. And to Mark's point, well, there's 2 or 3 of those before we get into Jimmy Kimmel. I don't want to spend too much time on Jimmy Kimmel, but there's a few things worth noting. That he is coming back on supposedly tonight. But sources are saying that he will not apologize about what he said about Charlie Kirk. So what was this really all about? Was it just a way to boost up ratings? Because people will watch tonight because of it, to see what he has to say. You know, very much like the Howard Stern scenario, if you followed that, where there was talks that he may not return to his satellite radio program. And they stretched that out because it was ratings gold for them at a time when his ratings were down too. Because people were waiting to see what his announcement was going to be. Was he retiring after all these years? Those type of things. So was it that? I don't know. There's a lot of moving pieces there that we're going to be talking about. And a couple of breaking stories from yesterday that may have either been pushed aside off the radar, or maybe you just didn't have a full chance to hear all about it. We're going to get to those when we come back. We're just getting warmed up. I feel like we're off to a good start. What do you think? Stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
You don't have time to go to the gym? The health club is not an option? Come to Hesselson today and see why swim spas and fitness systems can fit into anyone's yard and budget. 12-foot, 14-foot, 15-foot, 18-foot dual temperature hot tub and swim spas are all on display in Hesselson's indoor and outdoor showroom. Try before you buy. 0% interest-free financing options are available on every Hesselson swim spa. Swim and exercise year-round and start making every day better. After 70 years, it's still fun to poke in the corners at Hesselson's.
When you're running, don't forget to visit our Facebook page at Big Fox News. Catch up on news from the Twin Tiers. Vote on the daily question and hear about local events. All on Facebook.com/Big Fox News.
The Sue the Collector Consumer Alert. Hi, my name is Jared Johnson with SueTheCollector.com. Did you know that repossessions are on the rise in America? If your car, truck, or motorcycle has been repossessed by an agent that broke a lock, assaulted you, or trespassed on your private property, you have rights. Call us for a free case review at 1-877-BAD-REPO. You pay nothing unless we win money for you. Call me now.
It's a brand new 2025 Hyundai Tucson SEL all-wheel drive featuring power liftgate and heated seats. No money down for only $369 a month for 36 months. Make car buying simple. Drive your deal at Simmons Rockwell Hyundai in Big Flats.
The Bix website is here now. WYDCTV.com. Local and national news that keeps you informed and involved. WYDCTV.com. Today's weather, up to date and in your town. WYDCTV.com. Sports news, local events, and health stories that affect you. WYDCTV.com. The Big Fox website. Your news here now. WYDCTV.com.
A rainy view of historic Market Street. As you see the leaves already piling up on the ground. Thank you to Boss Security for bringing us a Frankly Speaking roof cam. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. A couple of quick but important breaking news stories. For now, the Supreme Court has ruled that President Trump can fire the Federal Trade Commission's sole remaining Democratic commissioner, Rebecca Kelly Slaughter, while it considers her legal challenge to her ouster. It goes without saying, but the liberal justices dissented on that decision. Okay, another story. As Mark had mentioned, Trump announced the FDA will change Tylenol's safety label, urging pregnant mothers to prevent autism risk in children. With Tylenol, don't take it. Don't take it, Trump told reporters. Ideally, you don't take it at all. But if you have to, if you can't tough it out, if there's a problem, you're going to end up doing it. Trump said the only time pregnant women should take Tylenol, a common form. Oh, I'm not even going to try. Acetaminophen is during a high-risk fever. The new recommendations is at odds with physician groups who say the drug, which has been on the market for 70 years, is safe. More than 50% of women report taking the drug during pregnancy because it has long been regarded as the safest. However, the Trump administration is pointing to a growing body of research that suggests a connection between autism in children and the use of acetaminophen during pregnancy. Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. also recommended children who are exhibiting signs of autism take Leucovorin, which helps correct folate deficiencies. Low levels of folate in pregnant mothers have been associated with neurological disorders in children, some studies show. Yes, so the pushback, kind of to Mark's point, as a matter of fact, has been doctors disagree. So every headline is Trump says don't take Tylenol, doctors disagree. So that was a major story yesterday, one that had been previewed numerous times, I think even mentioned during the Charlie Kirk Memorial. Also yesterday, and this is really, I'm surprised this hasn't been a bigger story, President Trump signed an executive order yesterday labeling Antifa a domestic terrorist organization. This, according to CBS, the move's legal impact is unclear. The executive order directs Trump administration officials to investigate and thwart, quote, any and all illegal operations allegedly carried out by Antifa members and to pursue people who fund such operations or provide material support to them. The president promised to designate Antifa as a major terrorist organization last week in the wake of the assassination of Charlie Kirk, although officials have not said there was a link between his killing and any left-wing groups as of yet. I know we want quick answers, and I understand, but it's not. But investigations are ongoing. It's not clear what happens next. Antifa, short for anti-fascist, which is ironic because this has been said a million times before, but it's one of those names that, almost like some of the bills you see that pass Washington, are to mislead you because they use fascist tactics in their name of anti-fascism. But it typically, and keep this in the back of your mind that it comes from CBS, typically refers to a loose affiliation of mostly left-wing activists. A lot of conservatives joining Antifa, is that what you're saying? And isn't generally considered to be an organized group with a clear leadership structure. And the U.S. doesn't have a statute that gives the president the power to designate domestic groups as terrorist organizations or charge people with domestic terrorism, legal experts told CBS. In fact, the White House argued Antifa has a long history of terrorizing our communities. It listed out several attacks on or threats against law enforcement agencies and pro-Trump events in recent years, some of which were allegedly carried out by people who self-identified with Antifa. So they self-identify as Antifa. Doesn't that make them Antifa? I mean, to use their logic. The White House also cited Kirk's assassination as an example of a trend of radical left violence. Authorities say Kirk's suspected shooter, Tyler Robinson, has been more political in recent years and lashed out against Kirk's, quote, hatred in text messages, though they have not released evidence tying Robinson to Antifa. Anyway, that is a major story, one that will be ongoing, and there'll be challenges, legal hurdles. One person that they interviewed, Luke Baumgartner, a research fellow at George Washington University's program on extremism. Yes, you can get a major on a program on extremism. Gives you a little idea of what we're dealing with on college campuses. But Luke Baumgartner, a research fellow at George Washington University's program on extremism, said you can't prosecute an ideology. All right. Let's talk about, well, one thing about that. I'm going to jump ahead. We're going to talk about Charlie Kirk in a little bit, but because they talked about Antifa, did you see the numbers, to have that many people, something like 200,000 people attending the memorial, not all inside, of course, in Runover Arena and just there in support. With all that amount of people, but let's even put it at some of the numbers that more mainstream media has, which is 100,000. They say just 2 misdemeanor arrests. There was 0 felony arrests and just 2 misdemeanor arrests at Charlie Kirk's memorial at State Farm Stadium in Glendale, Arizona. Given local law enforcement's estimate of the massive crowd size of 90,000 to 100,000 people, the arrest count was, and I quote, super impressive, according to the attorney's office. Yeah, there wasn't riots, there weren't protests. There were anti-Kirk protests, very small group. But anytime, think of going to a football game. If they had that kind of crowd, you're going to get more than a couple misdemeanors. So very impressive. Goes to show you the difference of, I guess, what happens when, and you've heard this is not a new idea or new thought, but it's almost cliche now, what you've seen online. But the difference between I don't know what you want to call it, a protest or a rally, let's say rally, when the left doesn't like something, and the protest when the Republicans rally, when the Republicans obviously didn't like what happened with Charlie Kirk, that they wanted to mourn him and grieve him. There wasn't, I think it was Donald Trump Jr. said there wasn't the rioting in the streets after Kirk's assassination. There wasn't the destruction of property and attacks. And in this case, even getting 100,000 people together, even though it was all mostly for the same cause, just that little amount, just 2 misdemeanor arrests. Now, the reason I bring that up when I talked about Antifa, listen to this. There were a few protesters rallying outside the funeral of Charlie Kirk. One of the few protesters, and I found this fascinating, one of the few protesters was a practicing Muslim and self-proclaimed transgender anarchist with an Antifa membership. Well, that's interesting about membership. Is there actually a membership to Antifa, or is it loosely affiliated, as CBS is trying to portray it as? Do you actually get a card if you join Antifa? These are questions I don't have the answer to. I'm going to try to pronounce. Sumaya Dawood, an apparent professional protester, known for holding solo demonstrations across Arizona, showed up bright and early at Kirk's Sunday memorial and was captured waving a Palestinian flag with the Black Lives Matter logo. Dawud and a handful of other protesters outside the funeral brandished a confusing array of signage, including some in support of Palestine, others demonizing Trump, and one dubbing the small encampment the Satanic Society. Go back to Europe, colonizers. This is stolen indigenous land, Dawud was captured telling protesters. The group barely consisted of enough people to fill a classroom, camped out through the end of the funeral. They were bizarrely stationed across from other agitators with the Westboro Baptist Church. I didn't even know they were still around, which famously has congregants attend high-profile funerals to denounce homosexuality and Judaism, even if the deceased had no connection to either identity. Dawud, and keep in mind, when people talk about Westboro Baptist Church, they try to tie it in with the Christian religion. That's not the case. It is more of a cult. Do some research on that if that's something you hear people highlight in a way to demean Christian faith. Dawud, though, was quick to bash the mourners who snapped at the protesters' flagrant disrespect towards the high-profile politicians in attendance. Dawud said some of the most hateful people spotted outside the Charlie Kirk event this morning. He also highlighted the piles of trash people left while they were lining up to enter the stadium, using it as a moment to call out the sad example of how gluttonous and wasteful America is, including how trashy members of the patriotic right wing can be. Wow, this person is interesting. Dawud previously shared posts celebrating Kirk's gruesome demise, writing that he was praying that he dies and that the slain conservatives' preferred pronouns were updated to was where. Again, he is a self-proclaimed member of Antifa. The headline I found it so fascinating. Self-professed trans Muslim Antifa member, a protester at Charlie Kirk's funeral. Just something that ties in with Antifa, but also just to give you a little look there. We're going to tell you more about Turning Point USA and Charlie Kirk, some breaking stories that I think are worth mentioning. I want to talk about Jimmy Kimmel. What are your thoughts? Will you be watching? What was this all about, I guess would be my question. Because Kimmel is set to return to ABC after the backlash. But sources are saying, now still sources, but it is coming from a reliable source in my opinion, which is the New York Post, saying that he will Kirk comments. But then we have some pushbacks from local affiliates. So we're going to talk about that when we come back. I know I'm running just a little bit late. Keep those texts coming in, and we'll be right back. We're Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
Some people who need Social Security disability benefits go to their hearing alone and get turned down. Not every lawyer will appeal a denial after your hearing. I will. I'm Peter Gorton of Lockman & Gorton. I help people win benefits by appealing their denials, including in federal court. But your time to appeal is limited, so call my office now.
Lockman & Gordon, 1-800-698-0567.
This isn't Children's Library. Create with the 3D printer. Release your inner audio engineer or sewing machine riddles, all with your library card. Go to getyourlibrarycard.com today.
Lather, rinse, moisturize, repeat, and repeat. But it never feels like enough. It's not your products. It's your water. Hard water leaves a mineral residue that clogs pores and dries out hair. Culligan water softeners remove damaging minerals, revitalizing brittle hair and dry skin. Upgrade your shower and skincare routine with Culligan, water you love.
Ferrari Auto Team!
It's everybody's deal at Ferrario!
Get a new Chrysler Pacifica with front-wheel drive, just $399 a month, and $29.99 due at signing.
Or get a new Pacifica with all-wheel drive, just $449 a month, and $29.99 due at signing.
Everyone is eligible. It's everybody's deal.
If you don't see me, I can't save you any money.
It's our Pacifica sales event at Ferrario.
Football's newest show breaks down all things NFL. GMFB Overtime.
Check out top highlights, player interviews, special guests, and everything in between. 5 days a week.
GMFB Overtime. It's football for everyone.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio on Market Street in Corning. So Jimmy Kimmel will be back on the air today, but the largest owner of its local affiliate stations won't air the show, as he is still refusing to apologize for the incendiary false claims about Charlie Kirk's killer. The $15 million per year ABC late night host negotiated his return to the airwaves directly with Walt Disney CEO Bob Iger and his number two, Dana Walden. Kimmel will address the controversy. Of course he will. Though he will stop short of apologizing. I'm sure he'll make some joke out of it, or he'll cry. He's very, very much known for crying now. The episode won't be aired on dozens of local ABC stations owned by Sinclair, which announced Monday night that it will instead air news programming in its place. Beginning Tuesday night, Sinclair will be preempting Jimmy Kimmel Live across our ABC affiliate stations and replacing it with news programming. Discussions with ABC are ongoing as we evaluate the show's potential return. Well, and I guess they were going to play... Sinclair was going to play some type of tribute to Charlie Kirk, but they received so many threats to their station. Now, keep in mind, one had been attacked, and we talked about that yesterday. It must be yesterday, right? But the gunman who allegedly fired at an ABC affiliate station had anti-Trump writings in his car and a note to do the next scary thing, that they wanted to do the next scary thing. And that was on a calendar memo, reminding him to do the next scary thing. Anibal Hernandez Santana had a calendar note on his refrigerator to, quote, do the next scary thing, dated September 19th, the day he allegedly blasted 3 bullets into the lobby window of ABC 10's Broadway headquarters. Investigators also found an anti-Trump book and a handwritten note that said for hiding Epstein and ignoring red flags during a search of his car. The note mentioned FBI Director Kash Patel, FBI Director Dan Bongino, and Attorney General Pam Bondi, threatening that they were, quote, next. And unfortunately, I'm going to show you some more examples of this kind of radical leftism and this quest for violence, or this thirst for violence that we'll talk about in reference to someone who we actually talked about yesterday too, Keith Olbermann. Keith Olbermann, there was an opinion piece on yesterday's program that said that Jimmy Kimmel is heading down that same path of irrelevance as Olbermann. But I'll continue. Turning Point USA posted yesterday, good for Sinclair for blocking Kimmel from its 31 ABC affiliates. Reminder, Kimmel is yet to apologize for saying the assassin was MAGA, and he was reportedly going to double down. He's an unrepentant liar, and affiliates have every right to demand accountability. Yes, I'm sure part of this deal, I shouldn't say I'm sure. Part of the discussion was don't double down, because originally he was going to double down on what he said. Use it to his benefit. Sinclair had previously demanded Kimmel apologize to Kirk's family and pledge a donation to Turning Point USA. Nexstar Media Group, the other largest ABC station owner, has not yet said whether it will air Kimmel on its stations Tuesday. The Post asked them for comment. Nothing has been said. Both media conglomerates had successfully pushed ABC to yank him from the airwaves for the September 15th comments about Kirk's assassination. In a statement, Disney said it suspended Kimmel last Wednesday to avoid further inflaming a tense situation and an emotional moment for our country, calling some of his comments ill-timed and thus insensitive. It remains unclear what Disney and Kimmel agreed to secure his return to air. The company has not disclosed whether the talks involve new contract terms or donations to Kirk's organizations. Reports have suggested these points were central to discussion, but no final details have been confirmed. So yes, Sinclair is saying they will not air it. We'll see if others make that same decision. I mentioned this yesterday, did not have the facts in front of me, so I wanted to present them to you on this morning's broadcast. A new study from Media Research Center's Newsbusters shows that Jimmy Kimmel Live had a strong liberal bias, that comes as no surprise, with conservatives bearing the brunt of his jokes. 92% of the time. He mocked and ridiculed conservatives 92% of the time. while Democrats, of course, largely spared. That's why, and we talked about it yesterday on the program, why I was so disingenuous, and just to show you how biased the media is. As I mentioned, I was watching a news broadcast where the one clip they show of Jimmy Kimmel making a joke was a joke, and a pretty weak joke, about Joe Biden. And I thought, talk about cherry picking to try to prove your point. An analysis of 7,797 political jokes across 369 episodes found that Republicans, Trump allies, and right-leaning media outlets were overwhelmingly targeted, while liberal figures and networks were rarely mocked. More specifically, right-leaning people were the subject of 7,189 jokes, compared to 565 about left-leaning figures and 43 that took aim at nonpartisan targets. At the same time, the findings showed only one Democrat, former President Joe Biden, made the list of Kimmel's top 10 favorite targets with 336 instances. But that is all at a time when you could mock him, when he had already, as a rule, stepped down or had made so many mistakes that it was just too ripe for the taking. President Trump, of course, ranked first on Kimmel's list with 3,584 jokes at his expense. I would also add, it's not even just about 97% of Kimmel's guests since September of 2022 have been liberals. But it's not even just about how many guests he's had, how many jokes he's made at Republicans' expenses. It's also the times when it turns into, my goodness, a political PSA, where he'll cry about some bill that didn't pass. Or I remember he lectured you because you just didn't know how dumb you were when you voted for Trump. Remember that after Trump won, that you don't know it yet, but you're going to be sorry. You're going to really hurt, and you're going to suffer because of the decision you made. Lecturing you with that pompous attitude that lost the Democrats the election, the pompous, arrogant, you're not smart enough to get it. But the election is really, really going to hurt you in the long run. Again, never realizing why they lost so easily. But Sinclair won't air Jimmy Kimmel Live, but maybe others will. As I mentioned, Turning Point USA is urging other ABC affiliates not to carry Jimmy Kimmel Live when it returns on the air. Disney and ABC caving and allowing Kimmel back on the air is not surprising, but it's their mistake to make, said Andrew Colvett, the organization, that's Turning Point USA, Charlie Kirk's organization, spokesman and executive producer of Kirk's popular podcast. Let's see, there was, I think that was, I guess that was it to the quote. Okay, a couple other quick things on this, but here's the question before we go to break about Jimmy Kimmel. CNN's Washington bureau chief, David Shallon, he was on a broadcast of a program called The Arena. So I'm asking you, my friends, tuning in, is Mr. Shallon correct? Where he says Trump's coalition is starting to split over Kimmel's suspension. I'll give you the full quote when we come back, but does that sound right to you? Those of you in the audience that are Trump supporters and a part of that coalition, maybe that MAGA coalition, do you see fractures? Do you see split because of the Jimmy Kimmel situation? Your thoughts when we return. Stay with us. This is Frankly Speaking.
Tire World of Corning is your back-to-school tune-up authority. Family service you can trust. Save big on all brand name tires, suspensions, oil changes, inspections, tune-ups, and exhaust. We give you peace of mind this school season. Your car, your kid's car, your off-to-college car. We have all kinds of tires for all kinds of vehicles. We love tires. We love maintaining your vehicles.
I would highly recommend them.
We came in, 5 minutes, we're in and out.
Get the job done right the first time.
Tire World of Corning, family service you can trust.
It's a brand new 2025 Hyundai Tucson SEL all-wheel drive, featuring power liftgate and heated seats. No money down for only $369 a month for 36 months. Make car buying simple. Drive your deal at Simmons Rockwell Hyundai in Big Flats.
Is this your mom?
Yes.
And that's your dad?
Nope.
I'm the father.
Even if you're the father, you're lying.
My family does not like my boyfriend.
Solid family.
I've had enough of this. I'm not your mommy.
Now you're just talking crazy.
Don't do that. I'm not your auntie, I'm your mother.
Can't cross mama and come in here and get treated nice. Your case is dismissed, and so are you.
Dante Brown, Big Fox News, Southern Tier.
If you are one regularly used hair relaxers or straighteners and were diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, you may be entitled to significant financial compensation.
I've used hair relaxers for years. I had no idea they could cause cancer.
Chemical hair relaxers and straighteners have been linked to serious conditions, including several types of cancer. If you used hair relaxers and have been diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, call us now. There's no fee unless we win your case. Call today.
Ooh, that's a interesting view of historic Market Street in the heart of the Gaffer District. Yesterday we heard the word eerie to describe it, but eerie there today as well. Thank you to Boss Security for bringing us that beautiful view, though. It's always a beautiful view. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hasselson studio. Okay, so CNN's Washington Bureau Chief, David Challen, said, here's what's important to note. When Jimmy Kimmel was pulled off the air for people on the left, let me word that different, or let me paste that different. When Jimmy Kimmel was pulled off the air, for people on the left, it was like it was a real watershed moment. There was it felt like there were all these data points. When I was talking to sources on the left that had been building throughout Trump's term in this space, in the freedom of speech space, in the democracy space, and that for some reason this shook Democrats to the core as a galvanizing moment. And I think you see that was received by the company clearly. So again, the outrage over him being suspended for saying something so atrocious was more of an outrage than the loss of life of Charlie Kirk. I mean, how many people said it that these people that have lost their job didn't lose their life? There's more outrage for and Jimmy Kimmel didn't ultimately end up losing his job. Someone called it basically a long weekend. But, you know, the people pointing to the teachers or some of these people just in general who have lost their job for what they've said about Charlie Kirk, and the outrage there, but not the same outrage for the assassination of someone who was speaking his mind as well. So to suggest, by the way, that the left or the Democrat Party, well, they said left at CNN, has found themselves in a space that is freedom of speech. When did that happen? Did it happen because they feel that Jimmy Kimmel, again, there's freedom of speech. He can say what he wanted to say, but it's a little different when you're employed. We've said this a million times. I know it makes some people mad, but it's just the way that's the way it works. You may not want to hear it, but the way it works is you can say whatever you want. Freedom of speech. The government is not going to come crack down on you. But that doesn't mean your employer is going to accept it. But I'll continue what Challen had to say. What we're seeing here on the right, I think that you know, they saw what Brendan Carr was trying to accomplish. You saw backfire with his own party, right? Ted Cruz coming out and saying he should have no involvement in this. You know, nobody was out there on the right defending Jimmy Kimmel or saying his comments were totally appropriate. But they were saying this is not a place for government to get involved. And so Donald Trump's coalition was starting to split on this, and the Democrats were wholly unified in real concern. So it left sort of Disney on an odd island that I think they're trying to course correct now. So Trump's coalition splitting because of the Jimmy Kimmel scenario, I think that's a bridge too far. Hey, by the way, 400 celebrities signed an open letter backing Jimmy Kimmel, including such names as Tom Hanks, Meryl Streep, Jennifer Aniston. Those are some of the big names, I guess. Jason Bateman, Robert De Niro, Jane Fonda. Many of these people very outspoken politically in the past. I guess if you want the full list at the Hollywood Reporter, you can find it. If you want to keep that in mind for maybe future ticket purchases or just in general, I don't know. I'm not going to go through all these. I will say I'm amazed because there's so many names that I just don't recognize, and that's not a knock on them. That's a knock on perhaps my pop culture knowledge. But I'm sure there's some interesting ones here. I'm not going to look at all of them. What am I doing? We got a show to do. Zohran Mamdani has blamed Jimmy Kimmel's suspension for skipping out on the ABC town hall. This is what I mentioned earlier, just to give you a little more background on it. And we are going to move from Jimmy Kimmel. We spent enough time on it. But Democrat mayoral nominee Zohran Mamdani pulled out of the ABC campaign town hall, blaming it on the network's decision to suspend Jimmy Kimmel. Now, we know that Mamdani is not doing well. His poll numbers are still fine, don't get me wrong. But he does not do well in front of like these crowds when he's actually called to task for some of his positions in the past. Some have compared him to Kamala Harris with the word salads. But Mamdani said at a news conference, "I'm withdrawing not as an indictment of the local affiliate or the hardworking journalists there, but rather in response to the corporate leaders who have put their bottom line ahead of their responsibility and upholding the freedom of press." Well, again, it's not freedom. Mamdani's protest led political insiders to jawbone that the increasingly debate-shy socialist had seized upon a convenient excuse. That's all it is. He doesn't want to do debates. He doesn't want to go to a town hall. This was his perfect opportunity, even admitting in his statement that it wasn't that affiliate or the people that worked there, it was to ABC. So he believes he has the power to shake the confidence of the CEO of Disney and of ABC because of his no-show. He's, quote, clearly ducking more debates. He's thinking, I've got this in the bag, why risk it? His opponents need to make him pay for it, said Republican strategist Bill O'Reilly, not the TV host. Longtime Democrat political consultant Hank Scheinkamp said, good excuse. When you're as far ahead as the polls say, you take no risks, period. Yes, we do have, let's see. We have a couple other things about Mamdani, but I don't want to jump ahead on that because I don't really want to talk too much about him this morning. But Mamdani had pushed as a New York State Assembly member to cancel a Kirk speaking engagement with podcaster Candace Owens in New York City, labeling him a far-right extremist at the time. Back in 2023, saying, quote, providing a platform for this kind of transphobic, bigoted views held by invited speakers Candace Owens, Charlie Kirk, and others goes directly against the diversity and inclusivity that we hold dear as New Yorkers and is an insult to every member of our community, he said at the time. But now he has an about face on cancel culture, according to New York Republican Club Policy Chairman David Holtwitz. Quote, after Jimmy Kimmel's suspension last week, Mamdani's sudden choice to reject the cancel culture he once endorsed means that New Yorkers are deprived of an opportunity to confront him about his own far-left beliefs. Mamdani's decision to pull the Biden basement strategy is just more evidence that New Yorkers must reject him at the ballot box. Not a surprise. Jamie Raskins, the Democrat from Maryland, said ABC is on the right side of things now. Well, it's great news. ABC heard from millions and millions of people out there who do not want to accept government-dictated censorship of their late-night talk show hosts. And so the free speech battle is not over. Obviously, Donald Trump still thinks he's got the power to anoint and appoint comedians in the country in private media broadcasts. Not a private media broadcast. But anyway, but at least ABC is on the right side now, and he's got his employer with him as well as so much of the public. It's going to cost more than perhaps expected. Charles Gasparino said Bob Iger has been the CEO of Disney off and on now for about 20 years. But people around him say the toughest decision he's had to make was to unsuspend his volatile late-night star, Jimmy Kimmel, despite the TV host making some really dumb comments, inappropriate comments, about who is responsible for the assassination of Charlie Kirk. That decision reflects the wonky economics surrounding his show, Disney's future dealings with the Trump administration that Kimmel bashes nightly, and to some degree, a pressure from progressives in Hollywood, people close to the matter have said. The statement issued by Disney, we know all about that. It didn't mention if Kimmel will apologize. But such a dumb, false statement that Kimmel made would get most people fired in the corporate world because there is no First Amendment right to a job. The problem with X and Kimmel is there's a lot of money on the line. It would seem on the surface that the show loses upwards of $20 million a year because his ratings have nosedived in recent years, because it really is a public service announcement, or a political ad, I should say. And ad revenues around the show have plummeted. But Disney, the parent of ABC, where Jimmy Kimmel Live airs, squeezes a lot of juice out of Kimmel There are affiliate fees for networks who pick up his programming, online ads, and sponsorship deals. He hosts the Oscar, which helps with brand building. The segment featuring his sidekick is also a draw for advertisers. Taken all together, all this means Kimmel, despite his annual salary of $16 million, nearly as much as his ad revenue losses, a massive staff of 200 people working on the show, and falling ratings, is profitable. Jimmy makes money, which makes this a difficult decision despite what is said, according to Charles Gasparino. Is all that worth paying Jimmy Kimmel $16 million a year to hear him crack insensitive and dumb jokes about MAGA? A Disney spokesperson had no comment. One other thing on this, and then we're moving on to Charlie Kirk and some other topics. We've got a lot to cover this morning. In the 7 o'clock hour, San Giovanni Valderno, Italy. Students from the Sister Cities trip will be joining us. Stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking right after this.
In the heart of nature, collisions happen when you least expect them. Deer hits can turn a tranquil drive into a chaotic moment. When the unexpected happens, turn to Scott's Collision. At Scott's Collision, we understand the frustration of unexpected encounters with wildlife. From dents to more extensive damage, we've got you covered. When nature and your vehicle collide, trust Scott's Collision to bring it back to life.
Want to read about ancient wonders? Go to your local library today. But this isn't your father's library. It's the home of creativity. Release your inner audio engineer or face off a dragon in the D&D club. Make your clothing ideas come together with our sewing machine rentals. Create with the 3D printer or come to the library event nights to chat with those within your community. All with your library card. Go to getyourlibrarycard.com today.
In 1954, a loaf of bread was 15 cents, a gallon of gas was 22 cents, and Cutler's Carpet and Flooring opened as a little store with a big red door. For 72 years, we've been your go-to floor covering store. With that kind of longevity, you know we have great service, best selection, best prices, and best installation. Celebrate our 72nd birthday where you get the presents. We've lowered prices on carpet, LVT, hardwood, ceramic tile, and do the home improvements you've been considering. Get your home ready for the holidays with Cutler's 72nd birthday sale. Cutler's, we have a buddy in the flooring.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. Mark writes in, I'm not split. And that means that the person on CNN was suggesting that the Trump coalition is splitting over Jimmy Kimmel. But one, I can't stay up to watch Kimmel, and I don't like him. But on the other hand, Kamala Harris is going on a book tour, and in her book, she notes that Biden did a bad job on the Israel-Hamas war. Oh, interesting. Is she going to be a guest? Is that why you're comparing the two? She could very well be. She's on her book tour. She probably will be eventually. But let's move away from that. I had something on his ratings. It's not worth it. If you want to keep talking about Jimmy Kimmel, we can. Will you watch tonight? If it airs, it's going to be good for his ratings. We know that. But I wanted to mention this because this is amazing. Turning Point USA has announced what you would, I think, could only call a star-studded lineup of campus speakers, taking the dates that were scheduled after Charlie Kirk's murder. It fulfilled the pledge of his widow, Erica, that the campus events would continue without Charlie. So it was called originally, the tour that Charlie Kirk was on, the American Comeback Tour, which has been rebranded now as the Turning Point Tour in his honor. Listen to this lineup, and man, I wish, to be a college student and be able to attend these. So I'm not going to give the dates, but at the University of Minnesota Twin Cities, it'll be with Michael Knowles. At Virginia Tech, it'll be Megyn Kelly and Governor Glenn Youngkin. I always have trouble saying his name. At Utah State, it'll be Alex Clark, Senator Mike Lee, Governor Spencer Cox, Representative Andy Biggs, and the Honorable Jason Chaffetz. At Montana State, it'll be Vivek Ramaswamy and Governor Greg Gianforte. I don't think I'm pronouncing that right. University of North Dakota, Glenn Beck. Indiana University Bloomington will be Tucker Carlson. At Louisiana State University, Ali Bastucky and Governor Jeff Landry. And I think this was UC Berkeley, Rob Schneider, comedian Rob Schneider, and Frank Turek. On Wednesday, podcaster Megyn Kelly. Well, I don't need to read all those, but that's going to be interesting lineups. We'll keep you updated on that. It'll be great to see how they handle that scenario to honor Charlie Kirk's legacy. Yesterday, we learned that if you look at the numbers behind Charlie Kirk's memorial, and I know a lot of people are calling it an old-time revival, waking the spirit of so many people, his memorial drew at least 20 million cable TV and online views, generating an audience that eclipsed the massive in-person turnout, of course, even though that was huge. Estimates between 100,000 and 200,000 people trying to attend or did attend and were in the kind of rollover area. Verified figures from YouTube and X show 7.49 million views on Kirk's own channel, 3.8 million impressions on his account on X, 2.4 million views on Fox News' YouTube live stream, and 1.26 million on the Associated Press. The subtotal, tallied from just 4 outlets, does not include dozens of additional simulcasts on Rumble, Facebook, and Twitch, nor replays that continue to climb. Early Nielsen data added another 5.37 million average viewers on cable between 1:30 and 7:15 p.m. The Fox News channel attracted the largest audience among cable news networks, 4.792 million viewers. Now, keep this in mind, because when you talk about ratings, I know this seems inconsequential compared to the memorial service, but you were competing against football as well. So 20 million is very impressive. CNN came in second place with 330,000 viewers. Boy, think of the difference there between 4.7 million on Fox, CNN getting 330,000 total viewers. Okay. Fox News Channel peaked near 6 million viewers during Erica Kirk's remarks in the 6 p.m. hour. I'm not going to go through the demographic ratings and all that, but isn't that remarkable and really such a powerful statement to Charlie Kirk's popularity and lasting legacy, where you had not only 100 to 200,000 people attending in person, but 20 million, at least 20 million. Because I know many of you, myself included, kind of found it on different channels that maybe aren't considered in these numbers, but $20 million on a football or $20 million. You can tell I talk politics too much. 20 million viewers on a football Sunday is impressive and goes to Trump's point, the revival feeling. And so many of the speakers saying, look at what Charlie accomplished with this and spreading the gospel during that memorial. Got a couple comments when we come back to wrap up our number one. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
When you're online, don't forget to visit our Facebook page at Big Fox News. Catch up on news from the Twin Tiers. Vote on the daily question and hear about local events. All on Facebook.com/Big Fox News.
This is a Collector Consumer Alert. Hi, my name is Jared Johnson with SueTheCollector.com. Did you know that repossessions are on the rise in America? If your car, truck, or motorcycle has been repossessed by an agent that broke a lock, assaulted you, or trespassed on your private property, you have rights. Call us for a free case review at 1-877-BAD-REPO. You pay nothing unless we win money for you. Call me now.
In a few words, Urkel, glasses, nerd. It pays to know your nerds. If you guys didn't get nerd with me sitting up here on this show, 25 words or less.
Weeknights at 5 and 5:30 on Big Fox.
Big Fox 10 p.m. News is the first primetime local news for the Twin Tiers. Our reporters, Haley and Dante, scour the southern tier to bring you up-to-date news regarding local businesses, economics, and how national decisions impact our area. If you're not near a TV, don't worry. You can also catch our 10 p.m. news live on WYDCTV.com/livestream. Don't miss Big Fox 10 p.m. news on WYDC, on TV, or our website.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. Let's go to some viewer comments to wrap up our number one. Where are the Disney ABC shareholders? That's a fair question. Is Kimmel losing that kind of money for the company a good business plan? Thank you very much. That's a fair point. I don't know. I don't think I'd be very happy if I was a shareholder in Disney. Comment from a different viewer. It's very encouraging. That's in reference to 20 million people. I would say at the very least, because I was watching on some weird news channel like on Roku, because it was the first place. It was literally, I was looking for the first place I could find it because I didn't want to miss anything. So does that count in the ratings? And I know I'm just one, but I'm just saying, if they're at 20 million, that is very encouraging. 20 million people hearing that on a football Sunday, watching and seeing those kind of numbers to watch what was really a revival, what had so much great religious content, great gospel. So yes, it is very encouraging. I would agree with you. Karen writes in and says, good morning. No quote yet, but the answer to your question. Well, first of all, good morning, Karen. No, I do not think the party has split over the talentless Mr. Kimmel. What the talking heads are not saying we're disappointed. Oh, okay. I see sorry, I'm wording it strange. When the talking heads are not saying we're disappointed, they are claiming it is a cult, and no one would dare speak against our wonderful president. Isn't this just normal debate within the party? You're exactly right, Karen. They're trying to suggest that MAGA is all one. Because again, those in the media specifically, and politicians, are in such a bubble with like-minded people in their echo chamber of all left. They don't know anybody that voted for Trump. So when they see their other left-wing friends talk about MAGA, they see it as a cult, that there can only be one belief, and that is what President Trump says. But no, you're exactly right. There is normal debate within the party. That's why I said it on yesterday's program, and I continue to say it, and I've said it numerous times, this idea that Republicans don't speak up because they're afraid. It has nothing to do with being afraid. That's just you trying to put a thought or a reason in their mind because they hate Trump so much. It's not that at all. I think it was a healthy debate. I think Rand Paul and I think Ted Cruz had a very good point in what they were saying. It is just normal debate within the party. Normal conversation. But the left doesn't have that, with the exception of John Fetterman. They don't have that. That's why the party just intrinsically votes whatever the leadership says to do. The Democrat Party says A, it's going to be A. They say B, it's going to be B. There's no inter-party debate in that scenario. The only debate they're having now outside of voting is kind of the socialist party, of the socialist wing of the Democrat Party, or the moderate, and it looks like socialism is winning. But yes, it was normal. I agree, Karen. I know I went on a tangent there, but it's just normal debate within the party. We're not a cult. MAGA is not a cult. They're only putting out there what they hope will happen. You're right, that we'll split. How many times have we heard that, where Trump is losing his support? That's why I bring it up so often on this program, to kind of keep reiterating how many times they talk about it. We've had that question posed on this question how many times now? Once a month, probably, at least, by some media organization. But we are out of time. Actually, we were out of time a little while ago for hour number 1. Stay with us. Hour number 2, mere moments away.
We are proud to serve our country, to serve our local communities, to wear the uniform, to be a soldier, to serve abroad when and where duty calls. We are ready to stand with our brothers and sisters to defend, to serve, to fight. We're always ready, we're always there. We are the New York Army National Guard.
Hi, this is Witzel, owner of Hesselson's in Amara Heights. At Hesselson's, we care about your well-being and overall health, whether it's relieving stress, muscle recovery, increasing circulation, or just revitalizing the body. Hesselson's now has 2 complete line of infrared and traditional rock saunas in our new and expanded showroom. Come in today and see why owning a sauna is the start of your new healthy lifestyle. Hesselson's is still locally and family owned and operated in Elmira Heights. After 70 years, it's still fun to poke in the corners at Hesselson's.
Want to read about ancient wonders? Go to your local library today. But this isn't your father's library. It's the home of creativity. Release your inner audio engineer or face off a dragon in the D&D club. Make your clothing ideas come together with our sewing machine riddles. Create with the 3D printer, or come to the library event nights to chat with those within your community. All with your library card. Go to getyourlibrarycard.com today.
Welcome to hour number 2 of Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I am your host, Frank Acom. And we're broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Market Street in Corning. I'm so glad that you've joined us. As mentioned in the 6 o'clock hour, in just a little bit, probably about 10-15 minutes, we're going to hear from our friends at San Giovanni da Valderno, Italy, as they are here visiting for the Corning Sister Cities group. It's going to be fun. It's always fun to have them in the studio. This go around, it's just students. Sometimes there's chaperones. This time, students. Or we're going to hear how their trips went so far. They arrived, I think it was late Thursday, had their big welcoming over at the school on Friday, and we're going to hear from them. And then we'll have a second group coming in on Friday's broadcast. Also, as a reminder, if you missed it this morning, tomorrow on the program, Assemblyman Phil Palmisano. We had to move Fridays with Phil to Wednesdays with Phil. Assemblyman Phil Palmisano will be joining us on tomorrow's broadcast, so get your questions in if you have any questions for the Assemblyman. Comment from a viewer. If MAGA is a cult, it's the largest cult I've ever heard of. Well, and to Karen's point, that's not Karen, that was somebody else, but Karen's point that that's how the media wants to portray it. But again, they're so out of touch. They're in their bubble. They're in their echo chamber that they don't know what MAGA really looks like. It's only what their far left friends have been saying about it. But back to some information about Charlie Kirk. We learned that Trump is open to a national holiday to honor Charlie Kirk, according to the White House. That's an interesting question. I'm sure he wouldn't oppose such a thing, said Carolyn Levitt. Interesting. So would be open to a national holiday for Charlie Kirk. Now, we've talked about the hate. You know, it's interesting because so many people have said it, and I said it in the last hour, that there was more outrage on the left over someone speaking his opinion, no matter how wrong it was, losing his job, and really it turns out it was suspended, and turns out now it's basically just a long weekend. We're talking about Jimmy Kimmel there. There's more outrage there on the left than there was at a person being assassinated for his opinions, okay? But when we talk about that outrage, you know you're eventually going to lose your job if you push it too far. We've seen it with teachers, and that's because at the end of the day, like that I can't remember who it said in that opinion piece, is that you don't have a First Amendment right to a job. Yes, you have a First Amendment right. The government's not going to come and arrest you for saying whatever Jimmy Kimmel said about Charlie Kirk. But it doesn't mean that you get to keep your job if your employer says enough. And here's an example of it. An Ohio woman ordered a to-go drink at Starbucks. Well, I guess they're all to-go pretty much. And I guess the Starbucks drink is known, especially to fans. It was Charlie Kirk's go-to. It was a Mint Majesty with 2 honeys. When she received the order, she saw that the employee had written instead of her name, because I guess they write your name on the Starbucks order, you know, hey, Frank, so that I can get up and get. She wrote on the drink, racist's favorite drink, or racist's fave drink. After speaking with the manager, Perkins, who bought the drink, learned that the employee admitted to writing the hateful message and was subsequently fired. Perkins said, I would agree that people should be fired if they're doing something like this. Actions have repercussions. Yes, actions do have consequences. I feel like Charlie stood for respect. We don't have to agree on everything. We can disagree on a lot of things, but we respect each other. We can't communicate and grow if we're disrespecting each other. Starbucks, in a statement to Fox, said writing this on a cup is unacceptable, and we have clear policies that prohibit negative messages to help preserve a welcoming environment. This Starbucks location is licensed and operated by Kroger. We understand that this associate was terminated by Kroger. All right. I mean, you got to know you're done at that point. Is that your way of putting in your notice? And Florida Education Commissioner Anastasios Kamatouris this week announced probable cause to revoke the educational license of an elementary teacher in the Sunshine State who celebrated Charlie Kirk's death. Referencing vile posts made by the teacher, Kamatouris said, quote, these posts made by individuals tasked with protecting the health, the safety, and welfare of students have celebrated and encouraged violence in schools. He made it clear that this is unacceptable behavior from educators and that it will not be tolerated. Further, he said these posts essentially teach vulnerable students that violence is, quote, an acceptable response to differing beliefs. An idea that has no place and will have no place here in Florida schools. He referenced a memo he issued 2 weeks ago to district superintendents providing clear guidance and expectation for districts to share with their teachers. The office investigating one such teacher in Clay County, that teacher made what he described as callous and unconscionable comments on social media celebrating the death of Charlie Kirk. He quoted the teacher as writing. This is a teacher. Remember, when we see the anti-Semitic protests on college campuses, and we've said numerous times that it starts much younger than that, elementary school teacher saying, quote, "This may not be the obituary we were all hoping to wake up to, but this is a close second for me." Knowing that attached to that post was an article explaining that Charlie Kirk was assassinated at a school. There was an outcry from the community regarding the teacher's comments. I don't want to go through all this. It's just another example of how the cracking down on this hate in the education system. A conservative political action committee launched an effort to expose teachers across the country justifying Charlie Kirk's assassination and is pushing back on claims from the left that conservatives are being hypocritical about free speech. Stefano Forte, executive director of 1776 Project, said many people are essentially happy that Charlie Kirk had been killed, and these people are in charge of the next generation. As conservatives online have launched a variety of efforts to expose online hate directed at Kirk, numerous elected officials and pundits on the left have accused the political right of cracking down on free speech, which Forte called ridiculous. When they had social power, they didn't care about our free speech at all. They didn't care who was canceled for having basic Republican opinions or fired for supporting Trump or even for retweeting Charlie Kirk. The only speech they want to protect is their own. No one is saying they can't talk. They can post whatever they want, but there are consequences. If you're openly celebrating the murder of Charlie Kirk, you shouldn't be teaching children. You're not about free speech. It's about judgment and character. These are cruel people, and it's dangerous to have them in the classroom. Now, the New York Post editorial board, and then we're going to move on from this, but we have so much to cover this morning. The New York Post editorial board had this to say about Charlie Kirk in general. President Donald Trump should heed, and I'd love to hear your opinion on this, by the way, should heed the bold, brave message of faith, hope, and forgiveness Erica Kirk delivered Sunday. It is one of the best American speeches of this century and points the nation to a better way, one it desperately needs. As Erica said, the answer to hate is not hate. And for Trump, it risks dragging his administration and the whole country down. Justified anger at the poisonous left and the toxic media and all the deceptions and abuses of power involved in trying to take Trump down these last 10 years doesn't mean fighting fire with fire should be the only answer. In particular, clamping down on free speech is not the way. Attorney General Pam Bondi last week seemed to see a hate speech exemption to the First Amendment. In a maelstrom of anger at Jimmy Kimmel's vile remarks, Federal Communications Commissioner Chief Brendan Carr said the agency would be going to have remedies that we can look at. A frustrated Trump also posted on social media over the weekend demanding that Pam Bondi go after his political opponents harder and faster. But we're hoping the widow's call for engaging with the other side will get through to him. This again, the New York Post, and I'd love to hear your opinion on it. It is, after all, not just what Charlie would do, but what he did with huge success, as Turning Point's explosive growth attests. We at the New York Post know as well as anyone what it's like to be censored. Big tech, the mainstream media, and major political actors worked in collusion to throttle our reach when we raised important questions about COVID's origin, challenged the Black Lives Matter movement, and reported on Hunter Biden's laptop scandal. But getting the First Amendment right means a conservative disinformation czar would be every bit as obscene as the liberal one the Biden crew tried to impose. The nation does face a crisis of political violence, mostly from the left. Democratic politicians and celebrities need to stop priming their supporters to lash out and signaling that violence is okay. The feds have every right and duty to investigate and prosecute Antifa and other organizations of violence when they break the law. It's when you've chosen the punishment first, then rush to justify it, that things go astray. Trump should heed Erica's call for forgiveness. Bending every federal sinew to get back at those who abuse their power to try to jail and bankrupt him will only lead to further cycles of escalating political warfare and hatred, especially when the Democrats someday return to power. Tit-for-tat battles point in only one direction, to more violence, ruin, and division. with the public learning to trust politicians and the entire government even less. And the country is already exhausted from this madness. Trump half joked at the memorial that he disagreed with Charlie and Erica since he does hate his opponents, and I don't want the best for them. But he should ask himself, does he want the best for himself, his party, and the American people? If so, he needs to think deeply on the lessons of Charlie and Erica. Your thoughts on that? I thought it was just an interesting take. I will say that the left has not calmed down the rhetoric. Unfortunately, after this, we've had numerous examples of that, and we've got a few more here that I want to kind of tie in before we go to New York State issues. Let's do... No, I haven't. I have time. Liberal political commentator Keith Olbermann has since deleted a social media post in which he appeared to threaten conservative CNN analyst Scott Jennings. So this comes off of the heels of Gavin Newsom looking like he was threatening... It wasn't Pam Bondi. Who was he threatening? Kristi Noem, maybe? Where he said, I think it was Kristi Noem, you're going to have a very bad day, something like that. And everybody said, whoa, not now. Now's not the time. Well, Keith Olbermann, who always thinks he's a lot smarter than he is, it's why his career, his pompous, arrogant attitude, why it has crumbled, his career, and he's basically taking to Twitter. You're next, blanker, he said to Scott Jennings. What else would that imply? What else would that imply? You're next, blanker. Well, kind of blanker. But keep mugging to the camera, he said in another deleted tweet. Imagine that at this fraught time where Charlie Kirk has been assassinated and Keith Olbermann, who is not relevant. I know I shouldn't even be bringing him up on the show. He has no relevance. He has no importance. He has no say. He's become a joke in many instances, in many circles, because of the just plummeting of his career. But he's so smart that he thinks threatening Scott Jennings, I don't know if he's a drinker or something, if that's why this came up, because it's so wrong-headed at this time. Olbermann appears to have been responding to a tweet from Jennings reacting to Jimmy Kimmel. Now we get the fascists off Real TV. That mean your career is next, Jennings. Send a tape to Real America's Voice, Olbermann said, to try to clarify after the fact. Okay, so after he got called out, rightfully so, he knew what he was doing. But that's the scary kind of rhetoric that we see. And Bill Maher, I guess, kind of clashed with, remember Meathead from All in the Family, Rob Reiner? Rob Reiner is very far left. Bill Maher is as well. Maher insisted that both sides, Republicans and Democrats, should continue talking despite the heightened political tension in the country. Before you have the exchange, you have to agree on certain facts, Rob Reiner said. And that's when Bill Maher said, no, you don't. You can't. Once you start down that road, you just have to talk to people. Reiner opened the discussion by saying conservatives and liberals today are less willing to sit down and hash out issues than in previous eras. Maher agreed and criticized Democrats for refusing bipartisan cooperation at a time when Republicans hold more power. This would make some sense for the Democrats if they had any power. But the idea of we don't talk to you when we don't even have the power, of course you have to talk to people. No, you talk to people. But if somebody says 2 plus 2 is 4 and the other guy says, no, it's not, how do you begin the discussion? And that's what Bill Maher said to him, and I think it's a good point, because, Rob, that's a slippery slope. If you start down that road of, I can't talk to you if you believe the crazy thing, because maybe you just can't. Let's say you're having a conversation with a person, using the example of someone who denies a moon landing. So what do you say after that? Bill Maher said, same thing you would do in a marriage. It's very much like a relationship. And no, I haven't not been married, but I have been in long-term serious relationships. And I know there are moments where the person is believing something. You just, every fiber of your being wants to be like, I got to get this person to not see it that way because it's nuts. And if you want that relationship to last, you're going to have to learn the 3 little words that are most important in any relationship. And they're not, I love you, they're let it go. So the idea that you can't even have a conversation, but keep in mind, when he uses an extreme example of, if I believe 2 plus 2 equals 4 and that person doesn't, how do you have the conversation? Remember, he thinks radical ideas are the same fact as 2 plus 2 equals 4. So that's why we saw way in the past 10 years ago where media outlets would say, oh, we're not going to have anybody that questions climate change on the program. We're not even going to have the discussion because it's a fact. See, the left is very quick to report on everything that's a fact. That is to silence you so that they don't have the conversation. So, for instance, man-made climate change and even having a discussion or questioning it even a little bit, or maybe the situation that Trump has with Tylenol, even questioning it a little bit, it can't, because it's a fact. It's a fact, so you are now to be silenced. That is what Rob Reiner is admitting to there. Now we're going to get to New York State issues when we come back. It's a quick segment because we have our friends from San Giovanni Valderno coming up in just a moment. But first, another quick segment after this. Stay with us.
When you're online, don't forget to visit our Facebook page at Big Fox News. Catch up on news from the Twin Tiers. Vote on the daily question and hear about local events. All on Facebook.com/Big Fox News.
This is a Sue the Collector consumer alert. Hi, my name is Jared Johnson with SueTheCollector.com. Did you know that repossessions are on the rise in America? If your car, truck, or motorcycle has been repossessed by an agent that broke a lock, assaulted you, or trespassed on your private property, you have rights. Call us for a free case review at 1-877-BAD-REPO. You pay nothing unless we win money for you. Call me now.
Drive-in event at Chilson Wilcox Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram. Buy a new in-stock 2025 Ram 1500 Bighorn and save over $10,000. Or, attention business owners, buy a new Ram 2500 Tradesman Crew Cab and save over $11,000. Tailgate season is back. Hurry, these offers won't last. Drive into fall event. Don't miss out on these incredible offers. Chilson Wilcox Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram. Selling cars a different way, the right way.
Livingston, Big Fox News, Southern Tier.
Something with a diamond in it.
Diamondback rattlesnake.
It's in the name. Name a low-calorie food you might make your edible underwear out of.
Salmon.
Watch it weeknights. Share it the next day.
Wild caught Norwegian teriyaki.
Share in the fun. Weeknights on Family Feud. 7 and 7:30.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security and Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hasselson studio. Coming up in just a moment, we're going to hear from our friends from San Giovanni Valderno, Italy. They'll be joining us in just a few minutes. But I want to read some viewer comments first, and then I have an announcement that you may have heard, but I think it's still bears repeating. This viewer writes in, "Good morning, everyone." Oh, I like that. Most people don't say good morning, everyone. They're wishing everybody a good morning, not just myself. I think we got to look at the overall Disney financial situation. Disney is doing very well financially. Their streaming service, theme park, and cruise lines could suffer in spite of the Jimmy Kimmel Show is losing money. They do not want to lose customers. If Kimmel goes off the air, it may even give Kimmel a boost in ratings from the fringe left. I do think there'll be a boost in ratings for the networks or for the affiliates that have him on, because people are going to want to see what he has to say. But sources are saying he will not apologize for what he said. That's where we stand. A comment from a different viewer. Good morning, Frank. Good morning to you. Everyone knows our quote-unquote cult leader is not a patient man. He's no nonsense. Get it done president. So why didn't he take over and become a dictator during his first term, you might ask? Yeah, what happened to that first term? Well, that's another thing. I mean, if, okay, they keep saying he's a fascist, a dictator, all that. Well, Jimmy Kimmel's coming back on the air, right? So it's not as if he, at the end of the day, had the power over that. It just, back to the point that Karen had made, that's just the media trying to paint Trump supporters in that way. Ken writes in, I know you can't and wouldn't air the video that he attached of Riot Fest. We talked about this a little bit yesterday, Ken. I think it was Guar was the band. I'm not overly familiar with them. The name just stuck in my head. They, just to give you some background, they enacted a fake beheading of Elon Musk. I think somehow Trump was involved too. I don't remember the exact specifics, but that continuing to push for violence. Ken writes, but it shows the difference between the right and the left. The right is willing to debate the issues, and the left wants to shut the opposition down any way they can. They truly believe that the ends justify the means. They know that acting out gory scenes like this give the radical left ideas is that how you say that? Ideas on how to silence the opposition. Yeah, it's scary at this time to have that. And I know they're heavy metal groups, so you say, well, this is kind of the history of it. That's, read the room. Now's not the time to be pushing for more violence. I wanted to mention this to you. You may have heard this by now, but I think, again, it does bear repeating. Steuben County recently became aware of a scam in which individuals impersonating county email addresses in attempts to have their targets provide banking information and send them money. Emails from Steuben County officials end with the suffix steubencountyny.gov. And employees do not use Gmail for official business. In addition, the county does all its banking within New York State. If you are contacted by an individual representing themselves as a Steuben County employee, ensure that the email domain is valid and exercise extreme caution when providing any personal or business banking information over the phone or by email. Law enforcement authorities have been notified of the scam and are actively investigating this matter. You can call, of course, the sheriff's office if you have been affected by this, but you will not receive some type of bill or some type of request for money from the county, from a Gmail account or any other account other than, and I don't even think you will, from the Steuben County ny.gov. I still don't think they send it through mail. All right, here's a question for you before we go to break and get ready for our friends from San Giovanni Valderno. The Democrat Chronicle out of Rochester asks the question, are New Yorkers happy? Well, a new report says it's complicated. This is from Wallet Hub. We somewhat mentioned this a while ago. It's not necessarily what you'd call breaking news, but I thought it was worth reporting as we get ready to discuss New York State issues. The Empire State was ranked number 16 in the Personal Finance Company's assessment of all 50 states across 30 key metrics. We know that we're not even in the top 10. New York received an overall score of 55.42. A work environment ranking of 42, a community environmental ranking of 45. It was ranked number 5 in the emotional and physical well-being category. The Empire State has one of the lowest suicide rates, so that is obviously a positive in our box. But do you think, they say it's complicated, we're number 16 out of 50, are New Yorkers happy? To our New Yorkers out there watching. When we come back, a couple New York updates, but after we talk to our friends from San Giovanni Valderno, Italy. That's coming up next. Don't forget, tomorrow on the program, we're going to have Assemblyman Phil Palmisano. That's a big one. Get your questions in for Phil ahead of time or live during the broadcast. Thursday, we're going to be talking with Apple Ridge. They have a healthcare fair coming up. We're going to learn all about that on Thursday. Friday, we're going to have our second group of San Giovanni Valderno students to see the difference between Monday to a Friday, or technically Tuesday to a Friday, and see how things have changed, what they think, what their favorites are. It's going to be a different group. I think it'll be fun to see their perspective. That is on Friday. And then we'll be talking with Corning mayoral candidate Pam Walker. So we got a busy week. Buckle up. And now stay with us. Our first group of our friends from San Giovanni Valderno, Italy, when we return. This is, Frankly Speaking, here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
Your tap water is delicious.
I know, right? It's this Culligan Smart drinking water system.
What do you think is going on in there?
I'm smelling a touch of chlorine.
Yeah, I'm detecting some PFAS.
I'm also getting notes of lead.
Perfection.
Sending it up.
Here we go.
Certified to reduce more than 70 contaminants. It's like having your own team of water experts. See the smart difference at Culligan.com.
Matar has a reputation for being a good guy.
Because I am a good guy.
For being focused on motor vehicle accident cases.
Because I focus on motor vehicle accidents.
For fighting for his clients.
Because I fight for my clients.
If you've been injured in a motor vehicle accident, it matters who you hire. It matters in the experience as well as the results. Call William Matar. Visit WilliamMatar.com.
This isn't Children's Library. Create with the 3D printer. Release your inner audio engineer or sewing machine rentals, all with your library card. Go to getyourlibrarycard.com today.
Do it all with Steel Battery. Get a free extra battery with the MSA 70 CP chainsaw set or BGA 60 blower set. Hurry into your local Steel dealer or shop online.
Fox Sports app isn't just any sports app. It's your sports app. Your teams, your highlights, your scores. Get more of what you want. To the end zone. Stream your teams live. It's free with your pay TV subscription.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security and Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. Welcome back to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Aiken. We are broadcasting from the Hesselson studio on Market Street in Corning, and in that studio from our sister city, San Giovanni Valderno. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for being on the show. Let's start with introductions.
Good morning. My name is Pietro. I'm 16 years old, and obviously I'm from Italy.
Hi, my name is Lisa Hafanni. I'm 17 years old, and I'm from Cabriglia. That is a little village near San Giovanni Valdarno in Tuscany.
Oh, okay.
Hi, I am Marco. I'm 16 years old, and I'm from San Giovanni Valdarno.
Hi, my name is Emma Cerotti. I'm 16 years old, and I'm from San Giovanni Valdarno.
That was great. That's a good start to our interview. So how has the trip been going so far?
Really good.
Yeah? How was the flight over here?
Kind of a mess because we lost our second flight from Paris to Detroit. So we had rescheduled after 6 hours. So we flown from Paris to Atlanta.
Okay.
But my luggage was lost in the process.
Have you got your luggage
Yeah,
since?
yesterday.
Oh wow! So you went since Friday to yesterday with no luggage?
I had a spare change in my carry-on. So.
Oh wow! It always seems to happen. There's always some kind of trouble when it comes to flying, isn't it? Well, you guys just got back from New York City, you two, right? What'd you think?
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing city.
Yeah. How long were you there? Just the day?
2 days.
Yeah.
The
What was your favorite part about New York City?
Mine are Empire State Building and State of Liberty and the Times Square.
Oh, yeah, Times Square is beautiful.
When we got on the edge, the tall building with the view.
Okay. Oh, the view you're saying?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Now, why didn't you? I don't know how this works. Why didn't you guys go to New York?
No,
we don't.
It doesn't work.
It was up to the families.
Okay.
Family.
Okay. I'm just learning about it. How many kids are total on the trip?
Are 8.
8
4
kids.
from Licey. And
Okay.
the other 4 are from ISIS. Is another. type of
Oh,
school.
okay. I was told that a while ago. So you're from different schools.
Yeah.
Okay. Have you become friends with them?
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you think when you came here on Friday with a big welcome with the signs and all that? What was that like?
It was amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. What did you think of the school?
It's really beautiful.
Yeah.
It's huge. Yeah.
Is it a lot different than back home?
Yeah.
Yes, of course.
Yeah. Of course, I didn't know. So how many people? There must have been a pretty big group greeting you on Friday. There normally is with the signs, and it's normally students, right? What have you been? I know we know about New York City. What have you guys been doing since Friday?
We went picking apple with my host family.
Oh, that's nice.
And then we went to a strange place. I think it was a typical American place. There was a lot of little shops, and we did some shopping.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and it was amazing.
Did you find anything to buy?
Yeah, I found a T-shirt, a Mustang T-shirt for my dad.
Oh, that's very nice.
Last Saturday, I went to pick an apple with my host family, with my host mom, host siblings, and my host sister, and it was amazing. And next we went to like a sleep. We had a sleepover with my host sister and some friends I know.
Oh, okay.
I think. And yesterday we went to shopping all together, and it was really amazing.
Yeah. Did you buy a lot?
No, I buy a dress for homecoming. Like from.
Oh, back home, or do you go to homecoming here?
No, homecoming here.
Oh, I didn't know they did that. Oh, that's neat. What's that, next weekend?
And the next Friday.
How long are you in town for?
Until Sunday.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Wow, you pack in a lot. Are you tired? No. You're excited?
Yeah.
Yeah. What are you looking forward to the most on the trip?
Like to experience is like to live in America.
Okay. What's that feel like so far?
It feels good. Like there's a lot of difference from back home, but they're like great stuff. So
yeah,
I take it.
Yeah. You guys all having a good experience? How's the host families, by the way? I hear you end up getting very close to host families, don't you?
Yeah, my host family are angels. I really like them, especially my mom.
Oh yeah.
My host mom, I really like her, and my siblings.
That's nice.
My host family is a huge family because they have six sons.
Oh wow.
So they are a lot, but they are really good people. So I'm happy.
Yeah.
Yeah, Marco are in the same family, but I think that they are really good people, really sweet and caring.
I'm glad you all like your host family, by the way. I put you on the spot on that, didn't I? That could have went really bad. What is the biggest difference you see here in the United States as compared to back home?
How big things are.
Yeah.
Like
well, you came from New York City, though. That's not fair. But that's a fair point. I'm just kidding you. Biggest thing?
Yeah, the same.
Yeah.
I think.
Maybe the time of life in Italy, maybe some part of the day are take with more slowly.
Okay.
And here is more fast pace, maybe.
Yeah. Fast paced, and everything's bigger and fast paced in America, huh? So I think it's really neat the bonds that you form, not just with the host families, but like your host siblings. Do you think you'll stay in touch with some of the students you've met and some in your host family after this?
Yeah. I hope so with my host sister because it's really a really good good girl and good host sister.
So I think I've asked almost all my questions. So you're just looking forward to the whole experience. There's not one big takeaway. Well, homecoming, that's going to be exciting. You said every year I ask that about the school, and everybody's really impressed at how big the school is. Is it what you pictured?
Yeah.
Oh, really? Yeah, that's funny. Well, before we go, each of you, do you want to say something to everybody back home? I'll start with you. And you can say it in Italian, is what I thought. But please be true with me, because I can't speak Italian, so don't say anything bad.
Ciao, grazie per avermi mandato qui, me la sto godendo, è un'esperienza fantastica, quindi vi ringrazio.
Anch'io vi ringrazio tantissimo per avermi permesso di fare questa esperienza e insomma di avere questa opportunità e me la sto godendo tantissimo e spero che torneremo in America insieme.
Ancora grazie per questa esperienza, sono molto felice di poter aumentare la mia conoscenza su un altro paese che magari non conoscevo abbastanza bene.
Io invece vi ringrazio veramente tanto per avermi permesso di fare questa esperienza e spero di tornare qui il più presto possibile.
We're okay, right? Everything's all right? Okay, good. I'm just making sure. Well, guys, thanks so much for being on the program. Best of luck, safe travels, have a lot of fun. We're really glad that you're here, okay?
Thank you.
All right, we'll be right back with Frankly Speaking after this. Stay with us.
This is a Sue the Collector Consumer Alert. Hi, my name is Jared Johnson with SueTheCollector.com. Did you know that repossessions are on the rise in America? If your car, truck, or motorcycle has been repossessed by an agent that broke a lock, assaulted you, or trespassed on your private property, you have rights. Call us for a free case review at 1-877-BAD-REPO. You pay nothing unless we win money for you. Call me now.
Fall in New York State is unforgettable. From breathtaking views in every hue to adventure around every corner. It's the perfect place to get away. But don't just take our word for it. Come and see it for yourself. New York State, everything you love. Plan your next trip at iloveny.com.
Miss a veteran, and she was injured in the line of duty.
I hurt my leg in a training accident when she was only 2 years old.
She had 7 different surgeries over the span of 9 years, and there were tons of complications.
I couldn't be the mom my kids needed me to be.
She missed so much.
After my last surgery, I got an infection so bad I thought it was going to kill me.
I told her she couldn't leave me yet. There was still so much she had to see. I hadn't even graduated.
I'm doing much better now. I'm an active part of my kids' lives.
She can kick a mean soccer ball.
DAV's been there for me and my family. Through thick and thin, they've had our back.
Every year, DAV helps more than 1 million veterans like Sandy get the health and disability benefits they've earned so they can achieve victories great and small.
My victory is getting my life back. I may have lost my leg, but I've gained so much. I got my joy back.
We got our mom back, thanks to DAV.
Support more victories for veterans. Go to DAV.org.
As always, we thank our friends from Boss Security and Horseheads for bringing us a beautiful view of historic Market Street in the heart of the Gaffer District. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. Thank you to our new friends from San Giovanni Valderno, Italy, for being on the program just at the beginning of their trip. They arrived on Thursday evening, and then Friday they had their big welcome at the school. We're going to have another group of students on the program on Friday, so do not miss that. Let's go to some viewer. And Phil Palmisano is going to be on the show tomorrow to get your questions in. Comments from some viewers. Are New Yorkers happy? Given its politics, how can anyone be happy? Thank you very much. Mark writes in, I'm not happy. We have a terrible governor. We need a new one and hopefully a Republican one. Well, to that point, and I got some other comments to read, but to your point, I see that Elise Stefanik, who is very much considered, she's going to run for governor, but she has not yet declared. Elise Stefanik is selling her Washington, D.C. home as she kind of weighs in on whether or not she's going to run for governor. That's probably a good sign. The Capitol Hill townhouse, a 3-bedroom home built in 1927, is listed for $2.19 million, according to the Wall Street Journal. Stefanik, a Republican, and relatives purchased the property back in 2010 for about $1.2 million, 4 years before she became the youngest woman ever elected to Congress at age 30. She said of her future in the district, I haven't really made that decision. I've got to make the governor decision first. So she does not shy away from the fact that she's still thinking about governor. The problem with that is if she's really on the fence about running for governor, that's fine. She's got to make the decision on her own. But the big problem, big red flag is if she decides not to run by November, where does that leave Republicans? I don't think it leaves us with much of a chance. With only a year to go. At least Stefanik has a name recognition, is great at fundraising. But anyway, I think that's a good sign. Selling her Washington, D.C. home. So to Mark's point, just thought I'd give you some good news there. All right, this is really fascinating. This is from a viewer, and I'll be full disclosure, I did not know about this. I'm going to learn more after. I didn't have a lot of chance to do research, but enough. I may have a story for you there, right? Did you hear about the Canadian government trying to take over an ostrich farm by force yesterday? I'm sure they will succeed today. 400 ostriches were ordered to be culled in January due to the avian flu. After the initial die-off, the birds are all healthy due to herd immunity, hence the name. The government will fine the owners $200,000 if they have the birds tested for illness. That's a huge red flag. Dr. Oz, Trump, and others have spoken up, but Canada is set on killing them to comply with, remember this name, WHO, WHO. World Health Organization. The Canadian-owned media is spinning the story as usual. Yesterday, the RCMP flew their drones closely by the birds, causing them to injure themselves due to the cull. These birds are used for science. Their eggs have been studied since 2020. They are not meat birds. Some of the people standing up against the tyranny are people I met during the convoy in Ottawa. I remember that story very clearly. This is government overreach, and it's just a tipping point. It's very rural, so not many people are there to stand between the police and the farm. So I'm going to do more research on that. Thanks for bringing that to our attention, because that is a fascinating story. I saw in my quick research during the break that there are a lot of people speaking out on this. So thank you. And I'm glad that you sent that in so we could bring it to other people's attention, because that we've got to look to Canada and other places that are overreaching, and to make sure that we don't fall into that trap here in America. Okay, also on New York, troll, they call him, Jack Schlossberg. I don't think I'm pronouncing that right, but he's a Kennedy relative, the grandson of John F. Kennedy. He's thinking of running for Congress. This is an update. We told you this before, but he is thinking of running for Jerry Nadler's seat. And one political observer thinks he has a shot at winning it. Jack Schlossberg, 32 years old, is best known for his online trolling of various prominent people and some of his unhinged social media posts. I was going to say that he does try to troll, but normally falls flat. It's very uncomfortable, very awkward. He thinks he's much smarter and funnier than he is. But just because of the Kennedy name, I guess, oh yeah, he really attacks Robert F. Kennedy Jr. a lot. And even though he doesn't have the Kennedy name, he has a Kennedy bloodline, he may have a chance. We're still waiting to see, because other names being thrown around in that race. One was, if you remember, Chelsea Clinton. So I'm not going to tell you some of the trolling that this Mr. Schlossberg has done in the past, but he is considering a run for Jerry Nadler's seat, and some saying he has a shot. I think, unfortunately, if Chelsea Clinton were to jump in that race, I think she would not only have a shot, I think she'd probably win it. By the way, also on New York issues, Kamala Harris offered the weirdest, not the weirdest, but a half-hearted endorsement of Zohran Mamdani, showing what could probably be described as less than enthusiastic. Look, as far as I'm concerned, he's the Democrat nominee, and he should be supported, Harris said. This was on Rachel Maddow's show. When asked if she endorses Mamdani's campaign, Harris throws up her hands in the air and offered a polite, sure. I don't think you're going to use that endorsement on too many, for two different reasons. I don't think you're going to use that on too many campaign ads. One, because it's Kamala Harris endorsing you. Number two, it's not even a full-throated endorsement. I support the Democrat in the race, sure, she said. But then she quickly pivoted to discuss other Democrats in other cities running for mayor, arguing that Mamdani is not the only star. I know that Mamdani's in New York, and I know New York thinks they're the center of the world. And here we are in New York having this interview. But I mean, there are people like Barbara Drummond in Mobile, Alabama. Helen Moreno in New Orleans. They're all running for mayor too, and they are stars. Anyway, she knows her mayor candidates. But this was on a part of her book tour. Some of the takeaways of her book tour, not necessarily about her book, 107 Days is the title, more about the interviews she's been doing. Rachel Maddow, as I mentioned, Harris saying, I realize that I haven't had a certain responsibility that I should have followed through on. And so when I talk about the recklessness as much as anything, I'm talking about myself. And that's the recklessness of not doing more to keep Joe Biden out of running for a second term. We already know that some of the passages from her book has been drawing widespread attention. Some are saying, there's an opinion piece that we brought to you yesterday saying she's not scared of the Biden bullies anymore, because I guess that's a real thing. Jill Biden's ex-spokesman revealed how Mean Girls ruled a White House cult, that was apparently the word of the day, that once shielded the former First Lady and her husband, griping that the Biden bubble was full of bullies. This is former Jill Biden representative Michael LaRosa in an op-ed credited former Vice President Kamala Harris for exposing the bullying tactics in her new book. Harris's forthcoming book, according to the recent released excerpts, say what insiders whispered for years. The Biden bubble was full of bullies. And that Harris is finally saying the quiet part out loud. Inside the White House, the Regina Georges of Biden's circle ruled like mean girls and policed loyalty. Staff weren't serving a president and first lady, they were serving a cult. You never knew when Regina was in charge or when the Bidens were. It was all blurred. Joe and Jill were warm, decent, empathetic, but they enabled some of the nastiest and most mean-spirited people I've ever encountered in politics, LaRosa said. That contradiction defines the Biden era. So that's something we're learning from, and that's not from Harris's book, but Harris exposed that originally. So when asked why she didn't press Biden to drop out, she said, there was so much, as we know, at stake. And as I write, you know, oh, is it going to be one of these? Let's start from the beginning. I want to quote her exactly. This is Kamala Harris. There is so much, as we know, at stake. And as I write, where my head was at the time is that it would come off as being completely self-serving. Another notable moment is she chose not to run with or to pick as her running mate Pete Buttigieg. Harris wrote that Buttigieg was her first pick, but that because he is gay, she thought it was too big of a risk to pick him while already asking voters to accept a black woman as president. Maddow pressed Harris on that passage, commenting that, quote, to say that he couldn't be on the ticket effectively because he was gay, it's hard to hear. Harris responded, no, that's not what I said. With the stakes being so high, it made me very sad, but I also realized it would be a real risk. It wasn't about any prejudice on my part, no. So what she's saying is it's not about any prejudice on her part. It's about the prejudice of the American people. Isn't that nice? That's who she's selling her book to. It wasn't about any prejudice on my part. It was the inherent prejudice of the country. This may be a little bit of that condescension that we talked about and the pompousness that we've been talking about on this morning's broadcast. But it wasn't about any prejudice on my part, but that we had such a short period of time and the stakes were so high. I think Pete is a phenomenal public servant. I think America is and would be ready for that. But when I had to make that decision with 2 weeks to go, and maybe I was being too cautious. Now, Buttigieg was not happy with hearing that in the past, you may know. She gave the endorsement of Mamadani, but not much of an endorsement. Harris also devoted a significant portion of the interview to going after Trump, calling him a tyrant, and urging titans of industry to stand up to him. Right now, we are dealing with, as I called him at my speech on the Ellipse, a tyrant. We used to compare the strength of our democracy to communist dictators. That's what we're dealing with right now. Donald Trump and these titans of industry are not speaking up. Talk about power being with the people and the people making the clear with their checkbooks as it relates to the suspension of Jimmy Kimmel. We saw the power of the people over the last few days, and it spoke volumes, and it moved a decision in the right direction. I wonder if anything came up about Charlie Kirk, just out of curiosity. It doesn't show it here, and the takeaways from CNN. Finally, asked about 2028, Harris said, that's not my focus right now. It's not my focus at all. I know it really isn't. All right, we got to take a break. We're running a tad bit late. Stay with us. We'll be right back, frankly speaking, here on WYDC TV. Big Fox, your comments when we come back.
Wrongful death after a motor vehicle crash, the words say it all, but do not begin to capture the anguish, the suffering, and the loss. It's hard not to be emotional during a time like that. But that's exactly the time when you need someone to be clear-headed, eyes open, and know exactly what has to be done to protect survivors and to get some justice. That someone will be me, William Mattar, when you call 444-4444.
We've had many wonderful memories as a family. Dropping Shelly off at school, I prayed he wouldn't get stuffed in a gym bag. We may not be perfect, but to me, we have the perfect family.
An albino baby buffalo was born.
Nearly 500 kilos of cocaine has been seized in a bust.
Thousands lined the pier at Seneca Harbor. Race weekend brought thousands to Watkins Glen International.
Hundreds and horseheads joined other cities around the country on Saturday for the No Kings protest.
Day one of the National Glider Competition, severe flooding has caused major disruptions in parts of Steuben County.
Throughout the year, prison reform has become a priority around New York State.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Market Street in Corning. We got some viewer comments. Rick, I'm going to try to get to yours, but it's a little too long. I'm trying to weed out some of it, not to take away your meaning, but to kind of cut it down to a timely format because I think it's just going to get too much. It was Rick put together his positives and negatives on Trump. Negatives outweigh the positives in Rick's mind, and I get it, but it's not conducive to a television show. Okay, some comments from viewers. I have seen signs for Stefanik for governor. I'm sure you have that. She is not officially declared, but I'm sure there are people making signs and maybe even some Republican Party officials making signs, but she is not officially declared. When she has, you'll see the official paid for by the Friends of Elise Stefanik or whatever the name of her political group will be. Comment from a different viewer. If Elise decides not to run, I wonder if Lawler would jump back in. I think the name is Lawler. Yeah, Mike Lawler. He may be sitting back on that. I mean, he was kind of in the campaign mode and then stepped aside, what most people believe, for Elise Stefanik. So yes, he may. I don't know. I don't have any insider info there. I don't know. Here's the thing. Elise Stefanik has bigger name recognition than Lawler. Lawler would already have been kind of campaigning, so there is a point that you have there, but I don't think he has the name recognition or the cash to pull it off in a year. That's what it all boils down to. It's about the 1 year is not a long time. You remember, Lee Zeldin did a great job against Hochul, but he was a year and a half out. He announced in April of the off year. So I think Elise Stefanik can pull it off with only a year, but I don't think a Lawler necessarily could. That's not to say he wouldn't get my support. I'm just saying that it's time will tell on that. There's no sense speculating. Comment from a different viewer. Good morning, Frank. My question is about the rebate check. My understanding is you have to file taxes to get it. I'm retired and don't file anymore. Does that mean I don't get any? Must be inflation doesn't affect us. I didn't. I thought it was. Well, what makes sense that it's off your taxes is you have to file taxes, right? Because it's like if you look at the star rebate, they make people over a certain age always re-up their star rebate. I don't know about that. The inflation, we're talking about the inflation rebate check. I'll type it in. How do I get it? And I'll let you know in the next break because we got to take another break already. Stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV. Big Fox, get your last second comments in as we wrap up today's edition.
What better way to start or end every day than relaxing in your very own Hesselson's hot tub? Massage therapy, relaxation, stress reliever, pain management, soothing muscles, or just spending time with a loved one. Hot water therapy really does make every day better. Hesselson's has been a part of this great community for over 70 years, still being locally owned and operated. So make the drive to Hesselson's and start making your path to a better life today. And after 70 years, it's still fun to poke in the corners at Hesselson's.
When you're online, don't forget to visit our Facebook page at Big Fox News. Catch up on news from the Twin Tiers. Vote on the daily question and hear about local events. All on Facebook.com/Big Fox News. When you're online, don't forget to visit our Facebook page at Big Fox News. Catch up on news from the Twin Tiers. Check out our newsreels and hear about local events. All on Facebook.com/Big Fox News.
If you are one regularly used hair relaxers or straighteners and were diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, you may be entitled to significant financial compensation.
I've used hair relaxers for years. I had no idea they could cause cancer.
Chemical hair relaxers and straighteners have been linked to serious conditions, including several types of cancer. If you used hair relaxers and have been diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, call us now. There's no fee unless we win your case. Call today.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam brought to you by Boss Security and Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, and I'm providing you with some bad news to our viewers because we've got another comment from a viewer. Ditto about the rebate question. I'm also retired and don't file. So I looked it up at tax.ny.gov, and what we learn is that you have had to file a Form IT-201, the New York State Resident Income Tax Return. So getting down to the nitty-gritty, the question is asked on their facts page is, I do not file a New York resident income tax return, or I did not file a New York resident income tax return for 2023. Will I still receive a check? The answer, in no uncertain terms, no. The department will determine eligibility for an inflation refund check based on the income reported on your income tax return. We will mail checks to taxpayers with a 2023 resident income tax return on file with the department. So if you didn't file your taxes because you're of a certain age, that means that you were not affected by inflation, according to Governor Hochul. Final comment, and Rick, I'm just not going to have time for the comment. I'll try to get to it tomorrow. But Ken writes in, can you imagine a New York with a conservative governor and a Republican supermajority? Fiscal responsibility, opening up fracking, business returning to New York, eliminating sanctuary state status, reversing onerous gun laws, energy price reductions. The list goes on and on. I know it. One last comment. Sergeant Dave writes in. By the way, good morning, Sergeant Dave. Sergeant Dave writes in, I just want to say God bless America. God bless you for telling the truth with your show. Well, thank you. Oh, I see it. Okay, sorry. Let me take a step back. Morning, Frank. I just want to say God bless America. God bless Charlie. Yes, Charlie Kirk and his family, of course. And God bless you for telling the truth with your show. Well, thank you, Sergeant Dave. That's a really nice way to finish up today's broadcast. I really do appreciate that. Now, one last thing as we were talking about the Democrats and Kamala Harris. This is something to note, and it happened at CNN as we wrap up today's edition. Two quick things. CNN's data guru, Harry N., has warned Democrats that they're in definite trouble with American voters ahead of the midterms. You know, Donald Trump being underwater, Democrats, and this guarantees us we're going to fly high in the midterms, and said in a mocking voice, let me tell you, this guarantees you nothing. Because at this particular point, the Democrats are the New Orleans Saints of political parties. Who leads on the economy? Republicans by 7. Immigration, Republicans by 13. How about crime? A big issue for Donald Trump and the Republicans. Look at that lead, 22 points. So the bottom line is, this particular point, the ball may be on the ground, but the Democrats have not picked up the ball and are not running with it. If anything, at this particular point, it's the Republicans who are running with the ball on the top issues. And then he compares it to last. Anyway. He was comparing it to last year. So I saw some other comments going in, and I wanted to get to them. But no, we are out of time. Trump is going to meet with Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries about discussing the looming government shutdown. We'll keep you updated on that. You're welcome for mentioning the ostrich farm. And I appreciate you, too. Thank you very much. I'm going to do some more research on that. Have a great day, everyone. Enjoy. Thank you to San Giovanni Valderno, Italy, the students from there, for being on the program. Assemblyman Phil Palmisano on tomorrow's broadcast. Have a great day. We'll see you in the morning.
Lather, rinse, moisturize, repeat, and repeat. But it never feels like enough. It's not your products. It's your water. Hard water leaves a mineral residue that clogs pores and dries out hair. Culligan water softeners remove damaging minerals, revitalizing brittle hair and dry skin. Upgrade your shower and skincare routine with Culligan, water you love.